In this video, we're going to go over lookalike audiences, the differences between them, the theory behind them, why they work so well, and how they can apply to your business. So most of the trainings that we go over are for products and services, but you can build lookalikes for just about anything as long as you have an email list or a list of customers that you want to target similar people to. So what is a lookalike audience? A lookalike audience is kind of how it sounds. It's a similar audience to what you are uploading. So if you have a 3,000 or whatever thousand person email list, you're going to upload that to Facebook and you're going to create a lookalike audience. And what Facebook is going to do is take a look at all the similarities to those emails or people that they can match on Facebook, and they're going to say, okay, all these guys have these similar attributes. Maybe they all like this fashion brand, or maybe they all are in this age group, or maybe they all live in this certain area. Facebook's going to take all that data, match all the emails that you upload to people on Facebook that they have used the same email with or that they can associate with, and they're going to build a lookalike audience for whatever that email list is. I tell most people you should build a lookalike audience based on past purchasers, build a lookalike off of all emails, build a lookalike off of all your subscribers, but take out the purchasers. So that's just a subscriber lookalike list, because each of those people have different aspects of them. Why did they subscribe? Maybe there's a similarity between all the people that subscribed versus all the people that purchased and versus the combination. So it's just a healthy mix to create some different lookalike audiences. For if you're selling a specific product, it's always great to have those purchasers in there. So let's go through. Let's talk about lookalike audiences, and then we'll show you how to build lookalike audiences. So you'll see here that I've got, these are the top 5 lookalike audiences that I always recommend for starting an account, especially if you have a decent amount of data. I'll do the 180-day purchasers. So these are people who have purchased a product on your website in the past 180 days. The high value purchasers in 180 days. So these are the people, so if you have people who bought like $500 worth of products versus people who spent 100, well, it's going to target those people that spent the higher value amount and create a lookalike audience off of those. The all email customer list, this is all the emails that you have a combination of. You're going to want to build a lookalike audience off of them. And then I have 180-day add to carts. And then I've got a super lookalike audience, which is a combination of 180-day add to cards, 180-day purchasers, 180-day high value purchasers, and sometimes I'll throw in the 180-day view product specifically. So those are the lookalike audiences that I like to do. You'll see here that most of these, or all of these, are all 1% lookalike audiences. So a 1% lookalike audience means that Facebook is going to be targeting the people that are at the top most likely to be like the audience that you uploaded or are mimicking. So if you go down there, so like the 1% is going to be the most qualified, the 1 to 2% is going to be a little less qualified than the first, and then so on. So when you're creating lookalike audiences, Facebook allows you to pick between 1 and 5%. So we can go here and let's go into audiences. And audiences is where you're going to create your lookalike audience. So we'll go there. Change this real quick. Different audience. And we'll go through creating all those different lookalike audiences, but I kind of want to use this as an example to explain it. So we'll build first you're going to want to build a custom audience. So you'll see here I have all my custom audiences. So here I've got purchasers 180 days. So I'm going to go over here after you create that. So first create the custom audience, then you create a lookalike based on the custom audience. So let's just walk through that real quick. So custom audience, so let's say website traffic. Going to go down here and we're going to pick purchases. We're going to change this to 180 days. I'm going to name this 180-day purchases. I'm going to name this V2 for the sake of this video. Create audience. Done. And then I'm going to go over here, create lookalike audience. I'm going to find that 180-day purchasers. I'll go to other sources. Go to V2. Here it is. That. I'm targeting the United States. So it's going to recommend doing the high value. I like to make the two different ones. I think that sometimes they can be different audiences depending on how much data you actually have. We're going to change this to the United States. And here's where you can change it. So again, the 0 to 1%, these 2.2 million people, these are the most highly qualified people that Facebook has found to be in your top performing lookalike audience. Doesn't always mean that that's going to be the best. And we'll go over that in a second. So you can change this to be 1 to 2%. I personally think that it's always best to segment all your different prospecting audiences. So if you have a smaller account, like doing under 2 million a year in revenue, you're going to want to start with the 1%, and then maybe gradually you can test out the 1 to 2%. But these lower audiences, these are going to be far less qualified for you, and I don't suggest starting there. If you're doing about like 20 to 100 million plus, that's when you're going to need more audiences to target, because you're always going to need to be filling the top of the funnel, as we keep mentioning. So that's when you'll build out these different ones, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, just because you need to test different audiences, because you're going to exhaust that 1 to 2% really quickly. And there's only 2 million people in there. So the reason that we do want to segment these is because we, the advertiser, want to know which of these audiences is performing the best. So if we build that prospecting campaign, will have each of these as their own ad set, and then we, the advertiser, can go in and look at the data and say, okay, is the 1% or is the 1 to 2% performing good? Maybe the 4 to 5% lookalike audience just isn't doing that good, so we'll pause it and we'll test something different. So that's how you do the different percentages and why we segment those percentages, and this is how you create your lookalike audience. So we'll just click create audience, and now your lookalike audience has been created. Now once this audience has been created, it's always going to be refreshing new people. So we saw in there that 1%, it's going to have 2.2 million people. Now this audience is always going to change daily. So every time we get new purchases, Facebook's getting more data for that 1% lookalike audience. So it's going to say, oh, we've got more data. Let's change some people out, and like maybe these people aren't good anymore, so let's add some new people in. So your lookalike audience is always going to be building, and as you're building purchasers, you're going to get more data to that lookalike audience. So the more data you can get to the lookalike audience, the more strong and more highly qualified customers that lookalike audience is going to be able to target. So that's how lookalike audiences work. I like to test out, and we'll go back to the campaign. The reason that I test out 180-day purchasers, 180-day add to carts, and so on, all those different segments of the lookalike audiences, is because depending on how much data you have for your lookalike audience depends on how good the performance is going to be. And the way Facebook looks at this is they like to have at least 500 of any one thing that you're targeting. So you want to have, if you're doing a 180-day purchaser lookalike audience, you're going to want to have at least 500 people in there to get good data for that lookalike, to build a good lookalike audience. To build a really good one, you're going to want over 2,000. And the more people you have in there, the better the data. So that's why we start off with 180-day add to carts, because you're more likely to have 180-day add to carts versus 100, or you're more. That's why we build out different lookalike audiences, because if you don't have 500 to 2,000 plus purchasers, you're more likely to have 500 to 2,000 add to carts, or even moving down the funnel, you're more likely to have 500 to 2,000 view products. So the more data you can give the lookalike, the better. If you're starting and you only have a couple purchasers, your lookalike audiences aren't going to be strong, and I actually don't recommend starting a lookalike audience until you have at least 250 purchasers, maybe even 100, but it's just not going to be that strong. I would suggest for you to build out specific interests and target them and try to qualify them until you can build up to 100, 200 purchasers, and then you can start building lookalike audiences and testing performance. But without having that data and those ads and data to build the lookalike audience, they're just not going to perform that strong, because Facebook doesn't have enough data to go on to target the right consumer for your brand. So that's going through the different lookalike audiences, and similar to having the 180-day add to carts, and that's why we throw that in there. In some accounts, I've had 180-day add to carts. Even if you have over 2,000 purchasers, it still outperforms the purchasers, and that's why I also segment them, so I, the advertiser, can see what's performing really well and what's not performing well. Um, on that same note, you can build. That's when I'll start to do the 1 to 2%, because if you have under that 2,000 benchmark of purchasers or add to carts or whatever you're targeting, or for your lookalike audience, um, it means your lookalike audience isn't that qualified. But it doesn't mean that all of them aren't that qualified. So I've tested out for lower accounts. I'll do 1% and then the 1 to 2% and maybe even 2 to 3%, because there is a chance